Hey everybody, this is alexmerced, and you're just watching the alexmerced data YouTube channel. So again, that's at youtube.com/@alexmerceddata. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please do like, subscribe, leave a comment wherever you're watching this. But I want to announce today that I've released my Spark 3.5 Docker containers. So if you're unfamiliar with what I've done in the past, is I've created two containers. I created several containers for like learning how to use things like Spark and Flink. They're built to just make it easier to use it for educational purposes. So in this case, I've had containers for Spark 3.3, Spark 3.4, but more importantly, there's these notebook versions of the containers. What they do is they just automatically spin up a notebook server on the same container, which means you can easily communicate with Spark, makes it perfect for like practicing Spark and kind of, just experiencing, being able to practice Spark in a very easy to set up environment. So the Spark 3.5 notebook is out. So now, you can do it with Spark 3.5. So let's show you how that would work. All you to do is you just use Docker. So it would be Docker run. I'm running a container and I'm going to give it a name. So we'll call it Spark 3.5 play or learn. We'll call it that. And then you have to bind a port, and you want to bind the port 8888 because that's where the notebook server is going to run. Now, cool thing about these particular Spark containers is that I did go and expose all the ports that Spark uses. So you could theoretically bind those ports, and you should be able to communicate with the Spark in the container externally. If you're basically, you can just bind it to your local host. There are some caveats with that, because just if you're not familiar with when you're running PySpark code, some code in PySpark will run local to the computer that the PySpark code is running from, and other code will run native to the cluster. Not going to get into those nuances right now, but something to keep in mind. Here, if you do it from the notebook that's inside the container, you don't have to worry about that because they're sharing the same machine. But then here I would just put in alexmerced/spark35 notebook, and that's going to start up the container. So just give it a moment to start up, and then you're going to get this output. And here you're going to see the notebook output. So right here we see the URL, so we can get to the notebook. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that into a new tab in my browser. And huzzah! Okay, I have a notebook. Okay, and the beauty of this is that now I can begin working in, let's just do an example. A new notebook. Okay, and then I got some 3, so that's fine. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to this repository right here, where I have some quick clips just to try this out. Taking a second today. My internet is a little chuggy this morning. So that's loading. Okay, I'm back. I had to restart my router, so that's why it took a second. But basically, I have all these PySpark examples in this Dremio repo. I'll put a link to it in the description of the video. But basically here, let me go over here. Let me just go grab the basic, just HDFS example. Yeah, here we go. So we can see that we can just run against Spark. I just have to make sure we're using, let's see here, Spark jars. So that's fine. But I want to use the Spark 3.5 runtime. So I'll just change that to 5. And that should be fine. Just see if there's anything else I want to change in here. We're not going to use S3 for this example. So I'm going to just want to use the file system. So we're just going to use a directory called warehouse. And get rid of this line. And we don't need this. Just clean this up to the basics. Okay, cool. And really all I want to do is want to create a table. So let's create table names, name string, using iceberg, and then do it again, and we'll just query the table. Select star from names, and technically that should be HDFS catalog.name, since that's how the configurations are. HDFS catalog.names, and that should be good. So let's hit play. Although we'll be able to tell that it's working in pretty quickly when you see Spark actually downloading the libraries, which we see right there. So you see Spark is doing its thing, downloading the libraries that I specified here in packages. So yeah, so bottom line is I can use a notebook and I can write PySpark code successfully pretty easily. See, it just was one command to start up the container, and now you can practice Spark to your heart's content. So this makes, well, practicing and kind of getting used to working with Spark pretty easy, okay, especially in a notebook environment. We'll just pause it while this runs, and there we see the results. Okay, Spark ran the query, so it created the table. That was the output. I queried the table, but the table has no records in it, so we see just an empty data frame, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, take it. Hopefully you guys enjoy this container as much as I'll be using it for educational purposes. Links are in the video description, so you can see where the container is on Docker Hub, and also where that repo is with all those PySpark code snippets if you want to try those out and work with practice working with Iceberg with different catalogs and whatnot. I'll see you all later. Just make sure that when you look at that repo, generally all the snippets have the settings for Spark 3.3, so just make sure you change the name of the Iceberg package to 3.5. So I'll see you all later. Have a great one. Ciao.